1 ton of cocaine moved in weeks, £5 million profit in just 10. A plot to hire a gunman to put a rival permanently out of business. And 2 men who thought encrypted phones made them untouchable, until the messages were cracked and they were jailed for life. Subscribe if you want more real UK organised crime cases told straight. James Harding, 34, from Alton in Hampshire, ran what prosecutors called a sophisticated and very successful drug network. His loyal right-hand man was 39-year-old Jayes Kharouti from Epsom in Surrey. Together they imported multi-million-pound quantities of cocaine, distributed it nationwide, and used intimidation to keep people quiet. Harding posed as a luxury watch salesman, but in reality he was living large in Dubai. 5-star hotels, Bugatti and Lamborghini supercars, a glass-walled villa. The money came from cocaine. The control came from fear. And when a rival courier threatened their business, the messages showed the pair planned to remove him permanently. The most devastating evidence came from a source neither man expected: their own phones. During 2020, European investigators penetrated EncroChat, their encrypted platform that the criminal underworld believed was impenetrable. The Metropolitan Police were handed a fire hose of data and spent hundreds of hours reading thousands of chats. In those messages, Harding wrote as the top king. Kharouti used best tops and topsy bricks. Between March and June 2020 alone, they exchanged more than 9,000 messages, bragging about profits and detailing logistics, times, dates, vehicles, stash points, and the next loads coming in from the continent. The scale was chilling. Investigators linked them to roughly 50 importations in a matter of months with a combined weight around 1 ton. Once in the UK, loads were broken down into 5 to 10 kilo parcels for wholesale buyers in different regions. The pair discussed clearing £60,000 to £70,000 per import, and the chats point to about £5 million profit in just 10 weeks. That money flowed into the lifestyle Harding documented himself: restaurant bookings in his own name, hotel stays where he supplied his real phone number, even a photo from a sun lounger that matched the exact pool view of a UAE 5-star. At one point, a dashboard photo of a Lamborghini accidentally captured a leg tattoo, identical to Harding's. The encrypted alter ego and the man in the mirror were the same person. But drugs weren't the only conspiracy. The EncroChat transcripts captured Harding and Kharouti arranging what they called the full M. They discussed hiring a gunman, providing a firearm and ammunition, and using a bike for a fast escape. A target was identified, a courier linked to a rival network. The plan wasn't bluster. Police later arrested a man recruited for the job who already had a conviction for manslaughter. The chats also revealed how the pair used threats to control their world. Harding joked about knowing where people's relatives lived to keep them in line. Kharouti messaged that he could have a prisoner attacked if he talked. It was all part of the operating system. Intimidate, silence, move product, collect money. The EncroChat breach flipped their world. Suddenly, the messages they thought were invisible were evidence exhibits. Timestamps, handles, photos, addresses, even screenshots of routes and rendezvous points. The Mets team built the case piece by piece. In late 2021, Swiss authorities arrested Harding at Geneva Airport, and he was extradited to the UK the following May. Kharouti had fled after his Epsom home was searched in 2020 and his handset linked to the chats, but he was located in Turkey and extradited back to London. In court, prosecutors laid out the network: industrial import volumes from Europe, wholesale distribution hubs across the country, profits measured in hundreds of thousands per week, and a murder plot designed to protect all of it. Harding tried to distance himself from the handle, the Topsking, claiming it belonged to someone else, an unnamed man he said he couldn't identify, because he feared reprisals. The jury didn't accept it. The overlaps were too precise. The restaurant booking in Dubai 2 days before the Topsking boasted about going there. The Waldorf Astoria pool photo sent via EncroChat that matched Harding's documented stay. The supercar pictures, the tattoo, and the constant cross-references to real shipments and seizures that police could verify. For the plot to kill, jurors were shown message after message on planning. The pair sourced a handgun and bullets, arranged transport, and agreed on the payment figure for the hitman. It wasn't coded poetry, it was operational detail. Detectives intervened before any killing happened, arresting the would-be gunman and safeguarding the intended target. But in law, conspiring to kill, taking real steps toward that outcome, carries the same weight as if the act had gone ahead. The jury found both men guilty of conspiracy to murder. Harding was also convicted of conspiracy to import cocaine. Kharouti had already admitted the drugs offence before trial. The judge at the Old Bailey called the quantities of cocaine hard to comprehend and said the profits would have been very substantial. He told the pair that without EncroChat, the true scale of what they were doing might never have been visible. He imposed life sentences on both men, a minimum term of 32 years for Harding and at least 26 years for Kharouti before either can even be considered for release. There was more. 2 other men, Calvin Crump and Khurram Ahmed, admitted their roles in a linked cocaine importation conspiracy and received heavy sentences. Another associate, Peter Thompson, pled guilty to illegal importation of cocaine and possession of a firearm and ammunition, evidence that there was a weapon available when Harding and Kharouti were discussing the full M. Piece by piece, the entire network that fed Harding's luxury image was dismantled. It's worth pausing on how this operation actually worked. The 1-ton figure didn't arrive in a single container with a big label on it. Loads were staged, staggered, and moved through legitimate channels corrupted by bribery and fear. The chats show constant vigilance, worries about heat, about phones being compromised, about seizures that forced them to reroute. They discussed splitting consignments, insulating their core from the couriers, and laundering proceeds. When a courier or rival network threatened their supply chain, the answer wasn't negotiation. It was violence by proxy. A hired gun, a bike, a quick escape, a message to everyone else watching: don't interfere. What EncroChat exposed across Europe, not just in this case, was the infrastructure of modern organised crime. It showed who ordered what, how they priced it, where it moved, and the casual way some actors discussed doing harm. It also showed the limits of the encrypted phone equals safety myth. Technology gave these men confidence. Evidence gave investigators the map. Once the encryption fell, the bravado in the chats became a breadcrumb trail. Luxury selfies matched to travel records, hotel bookings stitched to poolside photos, and handles fused to real faces by little human habits no one thinks about when they're typing at 2 a.m. For communities on the receiving end of the drugs, the numbers aren't abstract. A ton of cocaine broken into wholesale parcels becomes tens of thousands of street deals. With it come the harms you already know: dependency, debt bondage, exploitation, and the violence that follows money. Detectives say the profit margin was so high that during the EncroChat period alone, Harding and Kharouti were pulling in roughly £70,000 a day. That money didn't go into building anything positive. It funded an image, cars, sweets, designer dinners, and it fueled a plan to kill a human being to protect the flow. When officers finally put the cuffs on Harding in Geneva in December 2021, the fall from the 5-star life was immediate. Footage shows him surprised at the gate, the passport taken, the reality clicking into place. Extradition brought him back to London, and the Old Bailey did the rest. For the Met, It was part of one of their largest EncroChat investigations, a program of cases that has already produced thousands of years of prison time for offenders who believed their devices made them invisible. What does this case tell us? First, encrypted platforms are not a shield. Every technology has an attack surface, and when investigators get in, it's like switching on the lights. Second, the line between drug trafficking and violent enforcement isn't a line at all. It's the same business. In the chats, logistics and violence sit side by side. Prices and quantities in one message, a shooting plan in the next. Third, the idea that criminals can hide behind glamour is just that, an idea. In court, the same selfies that built the persona helped prove the case. There's a bigger point too. Law enforcement can't seize or arrest its way out of every aspect of organized crime. But cases like this do two crucial things. They disrupt supply at the source, 1 ton less of harm, and they send a signal to other networks that the myth of safety is just a myth. If you rely on encrypted phones, remember who builds and maintains that system, and how quickly the advantage turns when someone finds a way in. James Harding and Jayes Kharouti are now serving life sentences. Minimum terms of 32 and 26 years mean the earliest they can argue for release is decades away. Their empire didn't collapse because of a turf war or a financial crisis. It collapsed because the very tool they trusted most became the strongest witness against them. Thanks for watching. If you want more deep dives into UK EncroChat cases and the organised crime networks behind them, hit subscribe and check the next video on screen, where a corrupt airport insider tried to sneak £2 million of cocaine through Heathrow and got caught in a sting.